What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock and what you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to break down what the shorts are doing to NIO right now and why you should be very prepared for what's about to happen, because we're continuing to see shorts piling into the stock, and I'm going to break down how it could affect us going forward. Now, before I break anything down about this, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NEO community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, whether it's $1 or $100, it's up to you. You're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $3,000. And the best part is any could be a free NIO share, a free Tesla share, or a mix of all of them. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 1 week. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. NIO is up 0.56% for the day on Friday. Overall, it is trying to hold above $9, looking pretty decent. But the real question is, if she does get this bounce, are we about to form this like giant head and shoulders, right? It's been forming over the last couple of weeks. Is this like a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder? Is that what's about to form? Or is NIO going to end up just trying to rally? Well, that depends on many different factors, such as how the overall market is about to move. And also, you have to note that short sellers are piling in. Now, if NIO gets a big break, if the market does continue to rally for another couple of weeks, hypothetically, right? If it does, we could see NIO squeeze, right? That's the good thing about a lot of shorting. It could cause lots of stocks to squeeze if it goes as planned. But if the market ends up tanking, then the short sellers could even continue to double down, and this will hurt NIO even more. Now, why did NIO drop from $10.75 all the way down to like the very high eights in just a couple of days? The answer is, first off, their deliveries was not the best. They just barely did over 10,000 deliveries. They barely met their goal. They did not actually exceed lots of the expectations by a large margin. So that's part of why NIO did underperform. But then on top of that, you have to look at other things that were going on. Now, this is despite the fact that JP Morgan is like pretty neutral. Other banks are saying buy NIO, it's going to still do well. But what's very important is when you look at the short interest, we're actually seeing a lot of shorts piling in. This is actually one of the biggest short cycles we've seen in a while, like compared to this one and this one. This was like the only time it was like a little bit worse. This was back like around the end of February. But besides that, most of these cycles for the entire year are actually not as significant. Now, what basically happened was, near the end of March, we saw 6 million US shares shorted in a day, then another 7 million. It came down to about 4 million, then another 8 million, going up to 7 million. And then we recently saw 5 million shorted. So we're seeing millions of NIO shares being shorted on a daily basis. And the overall short interest, or the daily short sale volume, continued to go up and up and up. So that's why it dragged NIO down even more and more, because shorts just piled in hard. They smacked it down, and they continued to double down and double down and double down, and that brought NIO down pretty hard. So the real question is, what's going to happen going forward? Is NIO going to be able to bounce and recover? I believe it will depend on earnings and also the overall market. And that's why I'm a little bit concerned, or like very cautious, if you want to use that word. I'm saying this because a lot of stocks out there, especially in the tech sector and consumer discretionaries, look to me like they're actually in a topping process. Now, what's important about the topping process is, now it's looking to me like we may have another topping formation on SPY. Right? We have a possible left shoulder here ahead and our right shoulder developing, maybe. If that develops, if we are developing a right shoulder, if we can break this high, or even if we have like a third drive up to like the 420 and then we end up getting rejected, I don't know which one it's going to be, but if this plays out and the market does end up tanking, this could be very negative for NIO and the overall market right now. It's not just NIO, it's like Tesla, it's AMD, it's Nvidia, it's Apple, and etc. The entire market, right? Is NIO the only stock that's crashing? No, the whole market is. We can't just attack NIO for it. And despite all the downside, all the talk about NIO crashing and this and that, and despite the fact that there could be more downside coming for the markets if we end up getting those bearish projections and the bearish possibilities play out, Despite all of that, the analysts are still bullish on NIO. According to Tip Ranks, sorry, we have 6 buy ratings for NIO and 4 hold, and we have 0 analysts saying sell your NIO shares. They have a $14.73 target on average for the next 12 months, and we actually have a high of $25. So there's a good chance NIO will still be green going into the next year. I believe that's very likely, but first we have to get through the turmoil that's likely about to come. When it comes to the big data that came out, unemployment was as expected. Nothing too significant, nothing too horrible. Looking at other things like non-farm payrolls, a little bit low, but the labor force participation rate was also a little high. So very mixed data, not a whole lot going on. For NIO, what do I think is going to happen? Well, I will go into more details in a later video. We might see NIO try to bounce, but we'll have to see if she can try to break 9.5 to 9.7. If she could, this thing could actually see a mini short squeeze, and it could try to get back around the mid 10s. But if it fails, then this thing is likely going to start downtrending, unfortunately. All right. So, anyways, I want to just keep this video very short and just let you all know that uh, we're actually entering some very troubling times, in my opinion. I don't mean to be pessimistic, but we have to look at the current reality of the situation. Looking at PE ratios, the market is very overvalued. SPY is very overvalued, so is the QQQ, the NASDAQ, many different stocks out there were still overvalued. This is important because we're getting hit with some bearish catalyst or potentially bearish catalysts. I don't believe that the banking crisis is over. I also want to note that the Fed is going to continue to raise rates and keep them higher, and we're starting to see the effects of them as unemployment is starting to go up. I believe unemployment will continue to go up very hard very soon. Millions of jobs are going to be lost. The economy is going to contract. Businesses are going to fail. And it's very hard for me to say it, but this is just what a recession is, contraction in the economy. And I also want to note that when it comes to the US dollar, countries all over the world are now trying to get away from the US dollar, which is weakening it. This is once again very bad for the US as a whole. It's making the US no longer the global currency, or at least we're stepping away from this phase in history. And as all of this is going on, you have to remember inflation is still not out of the picture. CPI is still relatively high. It was 6% year over year the last time it came out. The Fed has to continue to raise rates and keep them higher for longer. They have to keep working hard on that, and they have to either like pause and keep rates high for a long time or do something similar to that. We need more tightening. So there's going to be pain coming. Earnings are going to contract in the economy. Downside is still very possible, and this will negatively affect NIO. I know it's unfortunate, but in the longer term future, not the longer term, but like the medium term, if the market does start tanking, 8.5, 8, even like the 7.5 area, all of those could be reached for NIO, unfortunately. It's very unfortunate, but it is what it is. But for the longer term, remember the analysts are still bullish, saying NIO should get to at least $15 or so, maybe even $25, which is a high expectation. And NIO also has the potential to squeeze going into the longer term future. All right. So I'm still very bullish on NIO long term. I think NIO has so much potential. I think it's going to be back in the 20s, 30s, 50s, 100s in many years to come. But for the time being, I'm seeing a very good buying opportunity coming. And right now, there could be more pain to come given what's happening in the markets right now. Okay, so thank you all so much for listening. Please have an absolutely incredible Good Friday, and I'll see you guys in the next one. NIO to the moon because the long term future is still incredibly bright, and peace out.